Hello and a massive welcome to this webinar. I'm Dr. Lara Zibarras, and this is all about helping your teen develop a healthy body image. By the end of this webinar, you're going to walk away with something really concrete that you can start using with your teen straight away. So there are probably many reasons why you may have hopped on this webinar. Maybe you've heard a comment from your teen that's actually quite worried you. Maybe you've noticed a change in how they're talking about themselves now, or maybe you're just worried about the world that they're growing up in, which has changed dramatically over the last 10 years. And maybe you just want them to be better equipped to navigate that world that they're growing up in. So whatever the reason, a massive welcome to you. You're absolutely in the right place if you are a parent or a carer of a teen or preteen. And whether you've already noticed something that is worrying you or you just want to get ahead of the problems, then you're totally in the right place, because your teen might be visibly struggling now. But the best time to build this resilience around body image is now, before you spot any actual physical signs. So I'm Dr. Lara Zibarras, and before we dive in, I want to tell you just a little bit about myself and also why I care so much about this topic. I'm a psychologist, I have a PhD in psychology, and I've spent about a decade working with women to help them heal their relationship with food and their bodies. And the thing that I kept on seeing over and over again when I was working with these women one-to-one was that so many of these women could trace their struggles around food, around their body, back to adolescence. It was to messages they absorbed, or a world that really told them that their body was a problem to be fixed. And so that's what's brought me to working with teens and parents, because I firmly believe that if we can get in earlier to create the right environment for them to be growing up for these very formative years, we can maybe change some of the trajectory for those people so that I see less people on a one-on-one basis when they are grown ups. I'm also a trained Body Project facilitator, and the Body Project is an amazing evidence-based program specifically designed to help teens build a healthier body image. And I'm going to be telling you a bit more about that at the end of this session. I also teach psychology at a university level, so everything tonight that I'm going to be sharing is ground in evidence, but I promise to keep this super practical so that you can go away with really tips that you can implement straight away. If you don't already follow me on Instagram or YouTube, you can find me over there at Dr. Lara Zib on both of those channels. Now, in today's webinar, we're going to cover a few things. We're going to start by understanding the context, what body image actually is, and why it matters more than most parents actually realize. We're going to look at some of the challenges that teens are facing right now and see what's driving them. And then I'm going to give you a very practical code, the body confidence code. These are very practical shifts that you can start making straight away, basically, to help support your teen in developing more resilience around their body image. We'll cover what to say and what not to say to teens who are starting to struggle. I'm going to end this all by sharing with you something called the Body Project. It's an intervention designed to protect teens' body image. So we'll end with that. So let's start with some numbers in understanding the context, because I think it's really important to understand the scale that we're dealing with. So all of the stats that I'm sharing today are really recent stats. So a recent survey by the Mental Health Foundation found that nearly half of girls say that body image worries them often or always. So not occasionally, not sometimes, often or always. That's huge. By the time girls reach 17, 18, 19, over 3/4 of them, if you were to screen them, they screen positive for possible problems with their eating. So potential issues with eating disorders at that age. And over 2/3 of under 18s report feeling negative about their bodies. So we're not talking about rare or extreme cases. This is the everyday experience of a huge proportion of young girls, and it's increasing because those numbers have got significantly worse since the pandemic and haven't really recovered since. Now, it's not just a girls' issue. Boys are struggling too, but just in a slightly different way. For boys, the pressure isn't primarily around being thin. It's about being muscular, about being lean, about being strong. A quarter of teen boys worry they don't have enough muscle, and a third are dissatisfied with their body shape. I mean, those numbers are so huge. Boys' eating problems have nearly doubled since 2017. And 1 in 10 secondary school boys said they would consider taking steroids to get the body that they want. And again, that's not a small number. So when we talk about body image tonight, we're talking about all of our teenagers. It's girls and it's boys. And I also wanted to share with you some charts. So these are the most recent data, so from 2023. And I wanted to draw your attention to a couple of things. So first, I want you to see how dramatically the rates rise from the 11 to 16 group through to the 17 to 19 group. So that's the window where things escalate quite rapidly, which is exactly why early intervention really matters. So these are the numbers of children and young people with an eating disorder. And then I wanted you to have a look at how much higher the rates are now compared to 2017. So we've seen this kind of dramatic, sustained increase that has definitely continued post-pandemic. So our teens are definitely navigating something now that I would say is genuinely harder than previous generations. So before we go any further, I thought it would make sense to talk about what actually body image is. So body image is about how a person thinks and feels about their body. And crucially, it includes not just their appearance, but also what their bodies can do. And that distinction, appearance versus function, is going to come up later when we talk about some of the practical things that you can do, because it's a really powerful shift that parents can make. And just in case you didn't already think it was a great idea, there are loads of reasons why helping your teen with their body image is so crucial. So body dissatisfaction is one of the strongest predictors of an eating disorder, and it's really important to catch it early, as you saw in those slides where I was showing you the stats. So if you catch this early, then they're less likely for it to develop into something that's much harder to solve, which is really important. But body image also impacts how teenagers show up on a day-to-day basis. It's about whether they're likely to put up their hand in class, or whether they're likely to put on a swimsuit, or be part of the swim team, try out for a particular sports team perhaps. So body image is strongly linked to anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. So really body image is woven through all parts of life. But also working on their body image helps build resilience more broadly. So if you have a healthy body image, you're better equipped as a teen to handle social media pressure, peer comparison, diet culture, and resilience around body image tends to generalize. So it builds broader self-worth, self-esteem, emotional robustness. And there's also a link to academic performance as well. So if you are concerned about body image, you're more likely to be distracted in the classroom because you're spending your cognitive time, your mental load is taken up worrying about what you look like. So if you're preoccupied with your looks, you're less likely to do things like sports, social situations, and so on. So body image is really linked to, positive body image is linked to better concentration and school engagement. I also wanted to briefly flag some of the signs, some of the things to look out for in case your teen is struggling. So you may notice like constant self-criticism, body checking, for example, obsessively looking in mirrors or checking specific body parts. You might notice sudden social withdrawal, so they don't want to go out as much with their friends. Or you might notice changes in eating habits or exercise habits. Maybe they're constantly comparing themselves to others or really hyperfixating on particular perceived flaws. Now, one or two of these things, if they come up, that is, we would maybe say, like normal teen behavior. But if you're noticing quite a lot of these, then it's potentially something to seek some support around. And I want to be really clear and just clear up a little misconception, because positive body image is not about loving your body 100% of the time. And it's not about thinking that you have the perfect body. And it's also not about never having a bad day around your body, because that's a very unrealistic standard to set. The point is you can have a healthy relationship with your body, even if there are aspects that you're not 100%, you don't 100% love. And even if you don't love every aspect of your appearance. So that's not necessarily the goal. What positive body image is about accepting and respecting your body and also being in tune with your body. So it's about understanding that our body is only part of who we are. So we're kind, we're generous, we're active, we're social. Our body is only one small part of that. And this is exactly what we're aiming for in the body confidence code. We want to be able to protect body image and also build body image resilience through this body confidence code, which I'm going to be sharing with you now. So this is it. So this is the practical framework that I wanted to share with you and that you can actually start implementing straight away. So it's the 3 M's: model, that's about being the example; manage, that's about shaping their world or helping them to shape their world; and message is about guiding the conversation. And we're going to go through each one in turn. So the first M is model. So this is about being the example. And I really wanted to start here because this is the one that's most in our control, and often the one that parents maybe find a little bit surprising, because this isn't just about what you say, it's also about what you do, because really our teens are watching every move. So there are 3 things to pay attention to here. So first, your words and actions. So what you say about food, how you talk about bodies, both your own body and other people's, that's really important. It's also about how you label food. So are you calling food good versus bad? Are you skipping meals or eating like a little mouse in front of your children? Are you avoiding photos, like, oh, don't take a photo of me? Or maybe you're groaning when you look in the mirror. So the key thing is that your teen is watching and absorbing all of this, and you have more influence than you think. So it's really important to just think about what it is you're saying and doing in front of your teen. So the second thing is about your self-talk. So how are you talking about yourself? Because your internal relationship with your body absolutely leaks out. Even if you don't think it does, your teen is picking up on it 100%. That sigh in front of the mirror, the comments about maybe you feel fat today, or I look hideous in this, or asking for reassurance around what you're wearing. So the way you talk about yourself, even if you think they're not listening, they are 100% listening. They are absorbing all that and taking it all in. And the third thing to talk about and to really think about is, what is the conversation around bodies like at home? So we really want to take the focus off weight. And we want to shift that family lens from how bodies look to what bodies can do. We'll talk a little bit more about this a bit later when I talk about, guiding the conversation. So you might want to start thinking about, rather than weight per se, thinking about health. Now, when we think about health and bodies, you can think about strength. You can think about energy. You can think about stamina or movement. So we want to be really shifting that focus in terms of how we talk about things, but also in terms of food as well. So rather than thinking about food for weight loss, you might want to think about food in terms of nourishment. So how can food bring our bodies amazing nourishment, but absolutely steering the conversation away from weight. We don't want to be talking or commenting on weight at all. So that was the first M. The second M is manage. So this is about shaping their world. Now, obviously, this will be very age dependent. So you may have a preteen or you may have a 17-year-old. So 100% this is age dependent and all families are different. So I'm going to give you kind of broad ideas about the kinds of things you can do. It's not necessarily about controlling everything that your teen sees and does, because I think that's it's not possible, but it's probably not helpful. What we want to be is an active, conscious presence in their environment. So you want to take a bit more note about what's going on. So there are 4 areas I want to cover here. So we want to look at social media and understanding the algorithm. We want to talk about how you can get involved in their digital world. We'll talk about raising critical consumers, and then we'll talk about some of the influence beyond the screen, because the screen seems to be quite a big one at the moment. So let's take each of these in turn. So now, the image that your teen is scrolling past every single day, not all of them are real. And I obviously don't mean, obviously in magazines, they'll be edited, won't they? But when they are on Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or even YouTube, those photos that look casual and spontaneous, the things that look natural and unfiltered, hardly any of them are. What your teen sees has typically gone through lots of stages of editing, depending on what they're looking at. So if it's a more professional thing, it's gone through professional lighting, professional makeup, strategic posting. If it's, their friends are using filters, there's probably loads of retouching happening before someone actually selects something to post online. And what we don't see are all the photos that are discarded. We see the one that is posted. So they're comparing themselves to images that maybe aren't even real. And we also want to remember that these social media platforms are designed to keep your teens on the site for as long as possible. The longer they scroll, the better. And how the algorithm works, if your teen is innocently searching for something, it could be on Google, it could be elsewhere. Maybe they search for something about, how to get abs. Now, suddenly the algorithm has picked up on that and they will be fed everything to do with body sculpting, to do with weight loss, things designed to make them feel really bad about themselves. So your teen can deliberately be guided down this rabbit hole. So we want to be very aware of what is going on and really understand this. So I just want to show you the kinds of things that your teen is seeing. So what is arriving in a teen's feed is not real. And actually the research is unequivocal. The more time that young girls especially, but also young boys, spend exposed to these kinds of images, the worse they feel about themselves. And you can see in these kind of before or after where faces have been touched up. These are professional kind of airbrushed photos. And, the one in the bottom right where this is, she's gone down like probably 2 body sizes in there. But it's not just airbrushing now. I think where we're seeing an increase in or the decrease in things like mental health is that people can do this to themselves. So your teen can alter their face every single time they post. So these are pictures of teenagers using filters to do things like get much smoother skin, bigger eyes, again, flawless skin here. You can do anything you want, longer hair, change your eye color. You can make yourself slimmer. So teenagers are getting to the point where they actually prefer how they look with the filters on rather than not having filters. So we want to think about that for a moment. They are starting to prefer the filtered version of themselves rather than their own reflection. And it's worrying, but this is the kind of environment that we're dealing with. And there's lots of research out there that now suggests that their self-esteem and their self-worth is actively harmed by viewing this kind of content all the time. For boys, there has been an equally dramatic shift. Now, look how much the male ideal has changed over the decades. You know, we only have to look at things like Superman or what Batman, you know, the male ideal used to be like, you know, from relatively ordinary physiques to this hypermuscular, ultra lean standard of today. So this is what boy teens are scrolling past hundreds of times a day. And it's also about celebrities changing their bodies for role, like Zac Efron for Baywatch. The boys are seeing these body changes as achievable, they're normalized, it's seen as the standard. In fact, actually, Zac Efron was very open about the impact that getting that physique had on his mental health and what it did to him. But those aren't the stories that we hear about. We see these kinds of transformations and boys think, ooh, that's what I want. And it's even in ads. So I'm not sure if you remember this, but Justin Bieber's Calvin Klein ad was totally retouched. So you can see the original photo on the left and the ad on the right, and everything is bigger. He's got bigger muscles, he's got bigger pecs, he's got bigger package as well. So we're normalizing this much sort of bigger, leaner body ideal for boys. And have you heard of looks maxing? So check these out. There are influencers out there with hundreds and thousands of followers telling boys that they need to be concerned about their appearance, but also offering advice that in some cases is downright dangerous, like smashing their face with a hammer to improve their jawline. And this is another one here. So boys are very clearly being sent a message about how they should look, and also the things that they need to do in order to achieve these looks going forward. So when you understand a little bit more about what's going on, it's time to get involved. And there's definitely a right way and a wrong way to do it. You want to avoid snooping or outright banning or lecturing, because I think that closes doors and like kills trust quite quickly. And there are many reasons why, you know, we can't just sort of blanketly say social media is terrible, because it can give teens some really positive things as well. They want to stay connected with their friends. So the right way is with curiosity. We want to be asking them genuine, non-judgmental questions around their world. Maybe sit down and scroll through their social media feed with them. So not to police it, but to really understand it. So ask some questions, you know, do you like what these people post? How does it make you feel? If you can, help them curate their feed a little bit, but also really consider joining their platforms. If they are on Instagram or TikTok, I would recommend joining them to really understand firsthand what it is they're dealing with. Beyond sort of getting involved, we actually also really want to raise teens who are critical consumers of media. And this is something that you can build into everyday conversation. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we do the M about messaging, but you want to help them understand things like sponsored ads. Do they understand that when they're seeing stuff that they are being sold to, and understanding who benefits? Thinking about influencers and what influencers are getting out of them liking and sharing. When you see before and after photos, unpack it together. Think about different lighting, different posture, possibly months apart. Also, now we are contending with possible AI generation of pictures as well. So some of these before and after pictures that we're seeing are actually AI generated. They're not real at all. So the goal is to give your teen the habit of asking, who made this? What do they get from it? What do they get from me being engaged? So that question alone is just really helpful for getting them to become a bit more critical about the environment that they're navigating. And then I also think it's really important to have boundaries as well. So this is obviously age dependent, but having some boundaries around how much social media that they are actually consuming, and also which ones is crucial. Now, this is obviously, depends on the family and what they are happy with their teen consuming. But putting some boundaries, not allowing them to just have completely unfettered access to absolutely everything. Because the research shows that just half an hour on an image-based app can make them feel worse about their bodies. Now, this is a video I really love to share. I've shared with both my teenage as well. Now, I've put a link to this particular video in the description below. It's a really great video to share with your teens, looking at the before and after process that models go through from the original photo to the final product. And it's a really good thing to watch with teens to get their feedback, ask them, what did you think? What did you think of that process? So like I say, linked below. And finally, you want to think about some of the influences offline as well, because they matter just as much. There may be family comments, even well-intentioned ones like, oh, you've lost weight, don't you look amazing? Send a message about what bodies should look like. There's also kind of peer culture, the diet talk that might be going on in their school, the body comparisons that girls and boys might be engaging in. There are comments that get normalized in the friend group. You've also got coaches, like sports coaches and teachers, who might comment on weight and appearance. And obviously there's this kind of broader diet culture that we're all living in, where products and supermarket, like adverts on TV, magazines that you find in the waiting room, all of that really normalizing this focus on the size of your body. Now, obviously you can't control that because it is external. Maybe you don't even know what's going on, but you can name it and talk about it regularly, about that impact, naming it with your teen, and again, asking questions about, what do they think, can be a very protective thing that you can do. Now, the third and final M is message. This is about how to actually guide the conversation, because everything that we've covered so far has been about your behavior, about your teen's environment. And we've covered a little bit about what you can say to them in the previous M's, but this M is all about how you can have these conversations and specific things that you can say to them to support them in this process. Now, you want media literacy. So we talked about that in the last M, but you want this to be an ongoing conversation between you and your teens. You want to be checking in with them, asking them what do they think. You want to gently guide the critique. What do you think? Do you think that's possible to actually look like? Do you know anyone that actually looks like? So really guiding and questioning that conversation around what you're seeing in the media. You also, we touched on this in the first M, but you really want to reframe as a family how you talk about all bodies. We want to get away from fat shaming or any kind of negative body talk. And we want to focus more on function. I love my legs, because they can carry me anywhere. I love my arms because they are great at carrying stuff. So you want to be focusing more on what your body can do rather than what it looks like. So this idea of function over aesthetics. So you want to find ways that you can really verbally focus on body appreciation. So you want to think about how, not just talking about your own body, but also talking about other bodies. So again, thinking about function, what bodies can do, appreciating your body for things that it can do rather than what it looks like. So it also relates to how you talk about food as well. I think you can talk about here. Again, we touched on this before, but thinking about food for energy, nourishment, and pleasure rather than specifically for weight loss. So what you notice and how you talk about things actually really, really matters. Now, this is super important. You want to stop making body-focused appearance comments, okay? We want to notice and compliment their character and not their looks. Because I hear this all the time. I hear people saying it to my own teenagers when they're like, oh, you're so pretty and what a lovely dress. It's like, stop. Because if the majority of compliments that your teen receives is about how they look, then that's what they're going to learn. They're going to learn that how they look matters the most. So you want to actively name other qualities like their kindness, their humor, their courage, their creativity, their compassion. So you want to help them build an identity that doesn't depend on how they look. And that's so, so important. And I want to end this section by giving you some really practical things that you can say when your teen says something that most people absolutely dread, that is something around, I hate my body. I'm so fat. I hate my body. No one's ever going to fancy me. I'm so ugly. So what do you do in this situation? Now, it's really, really, really important that you don't jump into immediately try and fix, even though that's so tempting as a parent. You want to get into the curiosity mode. So let's go through this in, a bit more detail. So there are things not to say. And I'll give you the reason why you shouldn't say things like this. So you don't want to say something like, oh, don't be silly, you look fine, because this dismisses their feelings without addressing them. So they feel like they're not being heard and it sort of shuts down the conversation. Or you don't want to say, you're so beautiful, or you're so handsome, you don't need to worry. Again, this doesn't acknowledge what they're experiencing, and reassurance actually doesn't work. Because what it does is it creates an environment that they will constantly be reassurance seeking. And we don't want that because it can actually worsen body image with time. You absolutely do not want to jump in with them. You don't want to be like, oh, I know how you feel. I hate my thighs too. Or I hate the fact that I don't have abs, or whatever it is. Yes, you might be trying to connect, but you've just modeled the exact same kind of negative body image that we're trying to shift away from. So absolutely do not do that. And you absolutely do not want to be like, have you tried cutting out carbs, or have you just, maybe if you just do blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. You don't want to go anywhere near any kind of comment that suggests changing their body shape in any way, because it gently confirms their worst fears. So those are all the things not to do. And here are some things to actually do. So the most important thing you want to do is honestly stop whatever it is you're doing, and you want to slow down. And the point is to get curious. Your teen does not need to be fixed, but they need to feel heard. So you want to start by acknowledging the feeling. That sounds really hard. Tell me a bit more what's going on. That sounds really tough. Oh, I hear you. Tell me a bit more what's going on. Because this does two things in the moment. It validates that something real is happening for them, but then it actually opens a door for understanding what's actually underneath this. Because that comment, I hate my body, no one's going to fancy me, I'm just ugly, or whatever it is rarely just about their body. It's often about belonging or rejection or comparison or a comment that someone made or a photo that they saw. You won't find out what's going on if you immediately jump into that kind of fix-it mode. You want to get curious as well. So has something happened today? Or is there something specific that made you feel that way? Or how long have you been feeling like this? Again, ask some questions to get curious about this. You can maybe reflect back without amplifying. It sounds like you're feeling really down about yourself. You're naming the emotion, but you don't want to amplify it. You don't want to repeat that negative belief. So this, it sounds like you're having a really tough moment. What's going on? And then when the moment feels right, and this is only after you've done exploring, you've asked some questions, you found out what is going on, that's when you can offer a different perspective, but you can't be dismissive of the original feeling. So I hear you. And I also know that how we feel about our bodies on hard days, isn't the full picture. So you may be offering an alternative perspective for them. And then crucially, what we were talking about in the last point is this idea of reminding them that they are more than just their body. So, again, thinking about their character, you're brave, you're kind, you're compassionate, you're strong, all of those things that are beyond their body. So I hope you find those tips really helpful. You see, the thing is, your teen is growing up in a world that tells them that their body isn't good enough every single day. So every time they're scrolling on social media, probably every time they're at school, whether it's through their phone, their peers, through the culture that's around them. So you've obviously got that body confidence code that you can start using straight away. And those shifts really matter. You can 100% start using them. But there's also one more thing that you can do. So something that you can, that teens can do for themselves, because we want to give teens the tools so that they can push back against some of the stuff that the world is telling them about their bodies. So I wanted to introduce to you the Body Project. This is a world-leading program created by Psychologists, and it's specifically to help young people build a healthier relationship with their bodies, to build that body resilience. It's just 4 sessions. And in just 4 sessions, teens who complete the Body Project are much, much, much less likely to develop an eating disorder, significantly more body confident by the end of those four sessions, but also equipped to resist some of the pressures they're facing from social media and that wider culture as well. So these come from many years, 30 years of research. And now this Body Project has been used in about 25 different countries around the world and has loads of research supporting its use and supporting the fact that it really does improve teens' body image. So it was created by world-leading body image and mental health experts. And it's designed to help your teen, feel much more confident in their bodies. It's a very interactive, engaging space. And I've seen teens come out of these sessions talking about their bodies in a completely different way. And it really does boost mood and self-esteem. So what happens is that over 4 sessions, your teen starts to understand where these appearance pressures are coming from and why they exist. So they learn to actively challenge these unrealistic ideals rather than just absorb them. So they become very, very critical consumers of what's going on in their environment. And we do this in very small groups, so a maximum of 10 people, so that they can connect with a group of peers their own age, which also means that it helps them realize that they're not alone, essentially, in all of this. There is extensive research to show that it works really, really well. Out of all the interventions out there, it is the best intervention. Young people have increased body confidence, increased body acceptance, much better mood and well-being. But crucially, much less appearance-related anxiety, and a much reduced risk of developing an eating disorder, which is amazing because all of these results have a ripple effect. So they engage better at school, they're more confident in their friendships, they're much more resilient to the pressures around them. So if you are interested, I will be running this body project. It's 4 1-hour sessions. They're run over Zoom and it's after school, so you can fit it in around everything else. Currently, we're doing ages 12 to 16, but if your teen is either a little bit, or preteen is a bit younger, or we have a teen that's a bit older, just reach out to me, because if you're interested, we can absolutely put on other groups as well. So it's £297 per child. Obviously, spaces are very limited because we are only running them with between 8 and 10 kids per group, because it's meant to be a very kind of small and safe space. But if you are interested, you can use this QR code to register your interest, or you can use that link. I've actually put the details in the description below, so you can find the links below, or you can just use that QR code, register your interest, and I will be getting in touch via email to let you know when the next session is starting. So thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions at all, use the links in the description below to reach out to me. It was nice to have you, and bye for now.